Stronger together. Stronger, stronger together.
You know, Jack Nicholson was probably right when he said we can't handle the truth. I know that I didn't want to hear it. Now, how many of you have friends who are good enough friends that they actually will tell you the truth? I now understand why politicians don't want to tell you the truth. In fact, I really understand why politicians do everything they can to not tell you the truth. Because quite frankly, sometimes the truth can just be upsetting. It can hurt. Yesterday, I probably had one of the most emotional days of my life. And many of you may have had these days, these sort of, come to Jesus moments. For those of you that don't listen to my podcast, I don't know why you don't have my app, you should. It's free, for the love of God. But for those of you that don't listen to the podcast and maybe don't know my story, I lost my husband 14 years ago in malpractice. And at the time, we were doing very well on talk radio, to the tune of a couple $100,000 a year combined. We were doing very well in our eyes. We bought a house, then he died, and that sort of derailed me. And then I got back on track. And when I got back on track, I started building and building and building again. And finally, it was on my own. And suddenly, I'm up to over $100K a year again, working at KGO Radio, and things are going really well. Then 2008 happened, and I think you all know what happened in 2008. It happened to you, it happened to me. I had a really public event happen where I said a plumber on air and lost my job at KGO. When that happened, a decline financially started, and even though I would later be rehired by the same station, I never got back to where I needed to be. But I kept hoping, I kept wishing. The one thing I've had for 17 years is my home. I think we're all pretty attached to our houses and to our homes. But it was pointed out to me yesterday by a dear friend that I can no longer afford my home. That Park Howard is a weight around my neck that I have been struggling so hard to keep for so long. It's $2,700 a month, means I should make over $80K a year, and I don't. So I need a partner. I need someone to come in and rent half of this from me, which means a huge life change. Or I need to give it up and move someplace that I can afford, which means leaving everything I know and starting anew somewhere else. Those are pretty hard truths to hear, finally, and to know that they're true. To know that you've been struggling so hard for so long, and that if you don't do one of two things, it's going to literally break you. Well, after I cried, I realized that this person meant the best for me. And I hope all of you have a friend that means the best for you. Let's just face it. You can't afford to be an American. Now, people will look around and say, Karel, $2,700 a month, that's a lot of money. Not in LA, it's not. Where just last week it was released that the average two-bedroom apartment is $2,300 a month. Who can pay these things? Everybody I know worries about rent. Everybody I know worries about bills. Everybody I know worries about health insurance costs. Everybody I know worries about car payments. Everybody I know worries that if they get sick, they're going to have to call into work. And what is that going to mean? Imagine. I want you to sit around and imagine right now what it would be like to take your family out somewhere and not worry about the money. How many of you? I mean, even Disneyland now is $150 a person. A family of four, $600 to go see the Magic Kingdom. That's kind of tragic-y kingdom, if you ask me. Who can afford that? The hard truths are, if you really looked at your budget, if you really looked at what you're supposed to be saving for, you can't afford to go out to eat. You can't afford to go and have any kind of life. You can't afford a $15 movie, and stop acting like you can. How many of you that live in San Francisco have had to leave the city proper and go someplace else because you simply can't afford it? And what that means is we can't afford our own country. We cannot afford our country. And what does Congress do about this? What does anybody do about this? Well, they wage more war. We can afford $1 million per bomb to bomb ISIS, which is not a threat to you. No one has sat our government down and had the talk that Karen had with me yesterday. Look, I'm sorry, Congress, you can't afford war. You can't afford unending occupations. You can't afford to fight ISIS. Sorry. No one sits us down and says that. No one sits you down and says, your nation is falling apart. And if we don't seriously change the tax codes to raise revenues, quite frankly, it is dangerous to be an American. Think about that. Think about how we now live in a country where, according to another report out just last week, we now live in a country where it is dangerous to be an American because of the roads, because of the crumbling infrastructure, because of the lack of so many things. And we always plead, we can't afford it, we can't afford it, we can't afford it. You know, I think politicians don't want to tell us how bad America really is because they don't want us to feel like a failure. They don't want us to feel after 239 years that the experiment's kind of over. You know, they don't want us to feel that way. So they don't tell us, hey, it's really this bad. How can we solve the problems if we're not really told how bad they really truly are? It's not great. You know, I'm sure a lot of my friends have wanted to tell me, it's great that you're doing TV, it's great that you're doing radio, and you should keep doing it. But it's not bringing in what you need, so you need to make some life changes. I mean, who wants to walk up to someone and tell them that? You know, who? You know, and it's the same thing with our country. What politician wants to turn and look at Americans and say, look, you know, we'd like to be this country, but we simply can't afford it with the current tax structure and with the way things are currently set up. We can't afford it. So either we do this or we do this. We're never given those decisions because we're never given those truths. You know, a lot of people think that politics ends, I don't know, at the dinner table or on television or wherever. But the fact is, politics is everywhere. It's even in the kitchen. It affects our food prices. It affects how much we can spend on food. The economy directly affects how much you have to feed your family. That's why I wanted to start cooking for the 99, meaning for most of us. Yes, it'd be nice to be able to go out to eat at lovely restaurants every night, but the truth of the matter is, you can't. Now, I've set a limit for myself of $15 a day or $450 a month. That includes if I eat out for lunch. So I'll find a lunch special for under $7, and that leaves me about $8 for dinner. Can it be done? Yes, it can. Now, when we do these segments in the future, I'm going to get experts. You know who they are? Moms. Moms are experts at how to feed a brood of people for a little bit of money. But I'm going to show you how you can do it and also make it good for you and your family. So tonight, we're going to have something that I like to call my onion chicken. My onion chicken. You have to say it that way. And we're going to have pasta, except we're not going to make it with pasta noodles. We're going to make it with zucchini and this fabulous, marvelous little round circular cutter. Then we're going to take this fabulous lettuce and we're going to chop it into quarter, and we're going to sear those on a grill with a little olive oil and serve those with a tomato. And we'll have the pepper in with our chicken. With our chicken, I'm going to ground up some cumin seed, and I'm going to have some coriander and some salt and pepper to taste. So the first thing you want to do is get your chicken seasoned. Now, these 2 chicken breasts were on sale for $1.79 a pound. So the 2 of these together were about $3.20. And you could feed 4 people on these. You truly could. You could cut those in half, or you could fillet them this way and make 4. They wouldn't be thick, but you could do it. I would feed 2 people with these, but you could feed 4. But it's still about $3. All of the rest of this, including this and everything else, another $3, so we're still right around $6. So the first thing you want to do is get your metate, because I'm sure you all have one. At least I hope you do. Grab your metate. Put your cumin seed in there, about a tablespoon. grind up your cumin seed. There is no need to buy ground cumin. Just grind the damn stuff up yourself. Takes out your aggressions. Ann Coulter, Fox News, Bill O'Reilly. See, I have beautifully ground cumin. So there that is. So take that and sprinkle on the breast. Whatever breast you want to sprinkle it on, you go right ahead, honey. If there's other breast in the kitchen that will let you sprinkle cumin seed on them, you go right ahead. Yes, Attila. All right, so we've got the cumin on there. Then we have our coriander. Always smell while you cook. That's such a big part of cooking. Here we go. You might be wondering why I'm not doing it to the other side. I'm not doing it to the other side because I'll do it when it's in the pan. Because you're going to sear them. Isn't that special? Okay. You need to chop your onion. Y'all know how to do that, right? Do you know how to chop an onion? Mm-hmm. How do you do it? How do you do it?
I do the cube method.
So you do it this way and then that way, and then you put it on its side.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh, I cut it in half. And
no.
Kind of like that.
No.
You know.
See how you made me go too far. But you go down to almost the bottom. I went too far on that one. You go down to almost the bottom till you get to almost the bottom. And you cut your way through almost the bottom. See, they're not falling apart. Almost the bottom. Then, and a sharp knife helps. Then you do the same thing this way, holding the onion together. And you go almost to the bottom, but not. Make them evenly apart. Almost to the bottom. Now it can either turn into a huge disaster or it can work perfectly. Because then you turn it on its side and you cut it. And what do you know? You have perfect little pieces of onion all chopped up for you.
So I was doing it right.
So you did it that way? Did you do it that way?
Yeah, somewhat. You know, like it's pretty much the same method.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Did you have fun with the last piece that you didn't do quite, did you have fun with that? Seemed just like...
Yeah, take out more of it.
Right, exactly. Just get rid of the icky parts. Icky. Oh no, that's a good part.
A vein chef shouldn't have to do that.
A vein chef. We were joking that these had a place almost for built-in microphones, and I said they probably are for microphones. You know how vein chefs are. No offense, Heather. Heather's not a vein chef, my niece. So I have my onion here. That's ready to go. I'm going to chop up this pepper. I'm going to sweat the onions in that skillet there. Then I'm going to add this pepper. Then I'm going to sear the chicken on both sides. I'm going to spice the other side. Then I'm going to put about 1/4 inch of water in it. I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to cook the heck out of it for about 25 minutes per pound. So probably cook that for about 35 to 40 minutes. But I'll check it with a meat thermometer to make sure if it's done in 20 minutes or whatever. 185 is what you want your chicken breast to be. Since they are boneless, it could cook in 20 or 25. While that happens, I'm going to chop up my cabbage because we're going to serve it with cabbage. And I'm going to show you the coolest thing right now because this is the coolest part of dinner. Take yourself a zucchini. Make sure it's washed. You don't want an ugly zucchini. Now, they have a thing to go on the end to stick in this and have it be like a handle. I don't use it. Put your zucchini in here and start spinning. And what's going to come out is going to be pasta, for the love of all things holy. Isn't that spectacular? Look at that. And you can treat it just like pasta. You can stir it up in some olive oil and some garlic, which is what we're going to do. You can boil it for like 1 minute to 2 minutes. And make it, that way. You can put marinara sauce on it. You can use it just like you would use pasta. And what do you know? It doesn't have any carbohydrates. None. Zero zip nada. And
the dorky thing that I love the most, you want to see the coolest thing? Because this thing is hollow, it makes little round Rotel things that come out the middle. Aren't those special? So you get that. And, see, after the little nubby pencil for one of those Cabbage Patch Kids. And you can do it with a yellow squash as well. Not as easily, but you can in fact do it. So that way your pasta is lovely and colorful. I leave the skin on for the color, by the way. Look at that. Look at that delicious pasta right there that has 0 carbohydrates. None. 0. Zip. Nada. I'm telling you, if you're trying to cut the carbs and you want cheap pasta for your family, get a spiral slicer and start slicing the hell out of zucchini. It'll make you sweat. I'm sweating. Okay, there. So we're going to use this like we would for pasta later on. We're going to set that aside in a bowl of cold water. So now I'm going to cook the chicken and get it going in the pan with the liquid and the sweat onions and the pepper. I'm going to save this for later and this for later and this for later. We'll check back when the chicken is more cooked. Okay, so it's hot in the kitchen, so I had to change because we are cooking up in here. Now, remember on food stamps, they ask you to feed yourself and your family on less than about $4 to $5 a day in most states. You can't do that. $10 a day you can do if you're single. If you have a family, $15 a day if you're lucky. And that would make it about $450 a month. So on Cooking for the 99, meaning the 99% of us who don't have the money to go to those wonderful stores that have all those fabulous prepackaged meals just ready to go, and they have the vegan, and they have the Mediterranean, and they have the paleo, except it's like $14 a meal. For those of us that don't have that luxury, and we have to do this for ourselves, I want it to be a little creative. So tonight, I'm making my onion chicken with vodka, and then I'm going to charbroil some lettuce as sort of some fabulous roughage, and I'm going to saute some cabbage. So I hope most of you have a grill of some sort, a grill pan that has the ridges. I have one over on the stove. Because what I want you to do, this works better with romaine, but my market was out. So what I want you to do is take and cut it in half, and then cut that in half again. Okay, so you're left with a lovely, pretty spear. Then, no matter what grill you're using, I want you to take your olive oil, and I want you to take a paper towel, and I want you to throw it on the grill, like that, and rub it. And do that so it gets on the top of the grill as well. So we're going to char the lettuce. We're going to put it with some tomato on top and then some Parmesan perhaps. We're going to slice the cabbage up and we're going to saute it with some chopped garlic and some fabulous chicken stock. Oh no, Brandon's here. I can't do it in the chicken stock. Sorry. Sorry, Kurt. We'll have to tough it out. I'll do it in some vegetable stock to make it vegetarian. And we're going to put some hot sauce in there from Louisiana to spice that up. The other thing we're going to do is, our chicken's done over here. So I'm going to take those chicken breasts out of there, take that sauce, those onions, and that pepper. You should all have one of these. They're under $30. But I'm going to use this to make a sauce to put over the chicken, which will be laying on top of what? Our spaghetti that we made out of zucchini, which I'm going to cook in a wok on a very high heat for 2 minutes, also with some garlic. For $6 for all of this, we have the chicken breast that was cooked in coriander and cumin over the pasta made out of zucchini, sauteed with some garlic and olive oil. We have the charred lettuce with tomato on top of the charred lettuce. And we are about to sprinkle some Parmesan Romano cheese on top of that. We have the 1-inch thick cabbage steak, which can actually replace real steak if you wanted to. It's 1 inch thick, and you grill it up on the grill just like a real live steak. and it's lovely. And then here we have the sauce, which was the chicken was cooked in. And we have the onion vodka chicken over pasta made from zucchini with 1-inch thick cabbage steak, seasoned with some Louisiana hot sauce on top of the cabbage steak. All right, cooking for the 99, because some of us have to live on $10 a day. Here's one way to do it. I'll give you other ways as the show progresses. The recipes will be at the website, karel.media. Now, we have to eat this because I had to feed the crew for under $10, and this is dinner.
Feel like a research monkey in me. Feel like a research monkey in me.
It is the Karelcast. I am Karel. So very glad you are joining me. You know, perception is only everything, and words are only everything. And yeah, I want to keep it light. I want to keep it gay. I want to keep it fabulous. But sometimes you just got to stop and wonder when we are going to start looking at things for what they really truly are and dealing with them for what they really truly are. We have a lot of domestic terrorism that goes on, and we don't really talk about it. There was a shooting in Charleston in a church. That was domestic terrorism. Of course, McVeigh, domestic terrorism. The shooting in the theater, domestic terrorism. Shootings in malls, domestic terrorism. We have so much domestic terrorism going on. I don't even know why we bother to fight it abroad, because you know what? We never fight with abroad. I don't even know why we bother to fight it abroad, because we have more danger from terrorism at home. It's just domestic terrorism. Gang violence is domestic terrorism. Those two motorcycle gangs in Texas, that's domestic terrorism. These are gangs like Al-Qaeda, like ISIS. And they're operational, and they have millions and millions of dollars, and these are terrorist organizations. When anything ends up terrorizing the community, it's a terrorist organization. Or when their deeds or their acts terrorize a community and promote an agenda, whether we understand it or not, by the very nature, they're terrorists. And so the war on terror is not one that we need to be fighting somewhere else. We need to be fighting it here, on our streets, because every single day, and you know what, you cannot have that conversation without the gun control conversation. Now, I want you all to hold on. I want to pause here. I want to actually physically pause everything. Stop. The magic of TV and radio. I just want to stop. Okay, through the wonders, we're able to start again. And the reason was I wanted to go get my .38 caliber handgun that I recently acquired. I had one for a long time and then didn't. And then had some things happen where it was recommended that I get one again. And every time I hold this in my hand, and let me make my Gaspar comfortable and make sure that he knows there's nothing inside, and I've checked the chamber, there's nothing inside, the safety is on. Every time, and I'll take it off and point it that way, nothing inside. Every time that I hold this, I realize that the sole intention of what I'm holding, this piece of metal here that I'm just flipping about, which if you're watching this, you're like, woo! It's empty. Here's the clip. But the sole purpose of this is to kill. Not to hunt animals, not to, do anything other than kill a person. That's all it's made for. That is its sole purpose. Not target practice. That's a lie. Its sole purpose, the only reason that this thing that I'm holding in my hand is made, is to kill a human being. That's it. Now, this and its friends, things like this, kill more Americans every year than ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and anyone combined. 38,000 deaths in America by these, what you're seeing in my hand, by guns, mostly handguns. 38,000 deaths. Some rifles, but mostly handguns. Half of those are suicides. Even so, you're looking at about 16,000 murders or of some kind, drive-bys or stray bullets or whatever, from what I'm holding in my hand or larger. Now, that's terror. Someone pointing this in your face is terrorizing. That is absolutely terrorizing. So it's a weapon of mass destruction. This is what our DEA and so many organizations, ATF, try to keep out of the hands of criminals. This is probably the biggest terrorist tool known to mankind. What I am holding in my hand right now. Probably the instrument that is the cause of more sorrow and more terror. And you can get it for a birthday present. You can get it online. You can buy it from a perfect stranger. You can fill it up with your bullets. You can put these in there. You can snap away. And now I am ready to actually kill somebody. And it's just so easy. That's the problem. And any argument to the other side is ridiculous. The fact that these are so easy to get, that the ammunition to put inside is so easy to acquire, the fact that in media and television and film and everything, that this is actually an acceptable alternative to anything, the fact that this is seen as an acceptable way out, that this is seen as a way to ease pain, you put that together and you have the problem. Because when you take these away, when you remove these from good, genteel society, every problem that we seem fixated on just plummets. Just plummets. Now, we've tried it this way, okay? We've tried it this way. How about we try it some other way? How about that? How about we realize this way does not work? How about that? Because if we were to do that, if we were to say to ourselves, hey, you know what? This isn't working out for us. What could be the downside? Don't listen to the right. The criminals would be the only ones with the guns. No. What would be the downside? You'd be safer in your homes. That'd be the downside. You would have less a chance of being shot with your own gun. 80% chance I'll be killed by this gun. You wouldn't have that. You just wouldn't have that. And more importantly, on top of the list, racist and homophobes and transphobes wouldn't be able to grab one of these and think it's some sort of video game and go out and shoot people up for real. Don't tell me that this doesn't kill someone, because it does. Because if I point this at you, you're not nearly as frightened. And yet words can be much more dangerous. So this should probably scare you more than this, but it doesn't.